Shalom, shalom. I accidentally hit the wrong button, but this is what I was looking for right here about the woman giving her body. What the woman don't have no control over her body. When it come down to her husband, the husband don't have no control over his body. When it come down to his wife. I'm gonna start up here at 1 Corinthians 7:1. Now, regarding the question you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relationship, and that's really talking about mostly, well, yeah, it's talking about man and a woman on this here, but telling a woman, you got a husband, don't go deal with another man, and to the husband, you got a wife, don't go deal with another man's woman, because that's committing adultery, right? Be put to death for that. But because there is so much sexual immortality, like the adultery, then you have, incest, then you have all types of, wicked stuff, right? Each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have their own husband. Now, you have some people, they will run with that and say, well, this right here will let you know that you're not supposed to have multiple women. That's bullshit. That ain't nothing but a standard of how a man and a woman, should come together instead of you going out there, just living life, uh, 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 um, like a immature, child. If you want a woman, don't get that man woman. You get your own woman. And you women, if you don't want to be a whore or a harlot out in the street or whatever, get you one man, and you have to sit down with him. You have to deal with him for the rest of your life. When you read Romans, and I don't mean get off, but this part of it, Romans chapter 7, you can read, I think, 1 and 2, it tell you that a woman, she's by law bonded under that man for the rest of her life until he died. And then when he died, then you can go get with another man, So, and also you read 1 Corinthians 7, and I want to say 32, and they say the same thing. So a woman, you're not supposed to be a harlot, but in this day and time, our women are harlot because society have given our women the right to go shop around like Smokey Robinson. That song back in the 60s or 70s, I think it was in the 60s, shop around. And that's not who she's supposed to be. A man, he can shop around. He can marry multiple women. But going back to this right here, where it says, verse 2, where it says each man should have his own wife, this is just a standard of him not, you know, uh, 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 um, dealing with another man, woman. Get your own woman. That's just a standard. It didn't say that that every man should, get his own wife, and every woman, well, every woman should have their own husband, and every man should get his own wife, and he can't get no more. But you got righteous men of the Lord having multiple women, and even men that was of lesser authority had multiple women. Gideon had 70 sons, 70 sons, and ain't no telling how many daughters by multiple women, and concubines. But he was a man of valor. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of these men and women that are Christians, which they are not followers of Christ, they are followers of this so-called white man religion. They don't have no understanding of that. So continue on. This is in the NLT. The husband shall fulfill his wife's sexual need, and the wife shall fulfill her husband's needs. So this is basically what it's saying, where a woman, she have no control. She can't just come out and say, no, I got a headache. No, you got to fulfill that man's need. And plus, he's your possession. Read Ecclesiastes 36, and I want to say 14, if I'm not mistaken. When a man get a wife, he get a possession. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, men, don't be, too brutal on your woman. You love her, you take care of her. But if she got a headache, listen, all she gotta do is just lay there. Huh? Take your aspirin, lay your ass on your back or on your stomach, or just bend over. That's not hurting your head a whole lot for you to do that. You just don't want to do it because you might be mad at them or whatever. Now, sick is a different ball game, you know. But in most cases, if a woman's sick and she love her husband, she'll still try to satisfy him. You just don't expect her to be all compassionate and do the thing that she normally do when she's healthy. But anyway, I don't want to go too deep in that. Um, let's read two. Oh no, I just read that. I'm gonna read three again. It said, "The husband shall fulfill his wife's sexual need, and the wife shall fulfill her husband's sexual need." So, you men, hey, eat right, work out, and there's substance out there. If you got to take substance, if you have an issue down there, and like I said, we're in this kingdom where Esau putting all type of stuff in our food and our water, and it's fucking with both of us. You know, a woman is not getting wet like she used to be. You know, a man, you know, you got men my age and old, a little bit older and younger, having problem rising to the occasion, and it's not by us doing anything to ourselves. No, it's what Esau, he's the main villain in this world that's causing all this all the issues that people are going through, even with his own people. You know, but we got to try our best. You got a woman, yeah, you got to try your best to keep your woman satisfied. You know. Um, so here's the point in verse 4, what I was saying. The wife give authority over her body to her husband, and the husband give authority over his body to his wife. So, that's what I was, trying to bring up, trying to explain to you earlier that, when it come down to that, you got to come back together. You not, if you separated from your husband put you away, you women, especially if you hot and bothered and you be wanted, you better make whatever issue you got at the house, you better mend it and come on in here and get your situation taken care of, because a man, he might decide to get him another woman, and he's not committing adultery. So let's go back to we're gonna go here. It says in Matthew 5:32. I'm gonna go back to Mark. We'll tell you what. Since I'm here, let's go ahead and get it. But I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, because of an argument or whatever, she need to go back to him after a while, right? But if he put her away, it says saving for the cost of fornication, she go out there and she commit adultery, he can put her away, and she gonna cause herself to she gonna call herself to commit adultery, But if she's, an older woman in the 60s or 70s or whatever, because a lot of that heat diminish, and a lot of those women, like for example, if a 60-some-year-old woman or a 70-year-old woman, her husband dies or whatever, a lot of times they don't remarry. They just live their life, with their grandkids and their children or whatever, and that's that. Or they just go through some type of health issue and they don't have that desire no more. But if you women in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, you know, hey, you're going to commit adultery if you still got that itch. And it says that who shall marry her, the men, that come across her path, just like in this day and time, you ask a woman how many guys she been with, some of them going to be ashamed to answer that question. And then again, some of them not. And if they say, well, I've been with one, or, you time that by 10, she say one. If she been with 10, you time that again by 10. So, you have committed adultery. I have committed adultery with the women, that I dealt with, because they had men before me. But the Heavenly Father showed, He's showing us mercy, because we still got to be fruitful, still got to multiply, right? We still have stress that we need to, get that sexual healing. So the Heavenly Father, He's showing us mercy. Because if He won't, He can just say, hey, all y'all commit adultery, and the judgment for that is sin. And we want the Lord to show us favor, grace, and also mercy. Don't destroy us because of our foolishness, our ignorance, because the deal is, and this day and time, woman tell you she got a man, don't fuck with her. But if she don't have a man, she's single, and she lets you come by, you don't see no pictures in the house, no man calling the phone or whatever, and you've been dating her now for 3-4 years or whatever, but she been, with a guy before, the technicality, that's still adultery. But he show us mercy on that. But if you willfully get with a woman, she tell you she got a man, and you say, well, what they got to do with me, and you still want to go in, I hope the Heavenly Father pull your limbs and your neck off right now. But like I said, in this day and time, Esau, as you see here in this picture here, he's the mediator, which at one point he was a servant, and he's still a servant, to the children of Israel. Today, the Heavenly Father, he gave him the power to rule over us, but he's going to go back into their servitude in the next kingdom, and but anyway, it tell you, you see the man trying to talk to the woman, and she pretty much, she ain't trying to hear it, but it tell you in Exodus 21 and 10, it says that if he take him another woman, he married another woman, he's not committing adultery. He's adding on to his household to make his household a lot, let's say, to make the home for his work and the home for the other wife a lot better. Because you got women in the house right now, got 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses, and they still trying to work, and you wearing yourself out. If a man get another woman, he's not committing fornication. He's not committing adultery. He's adding to the house, making the house a lot comfortable, a lot easier on the first woman that have to live in that house and have to clean that house. She got help now. And if he bring in another and another, that will be a whole lot better. She ain't got to work, all day to try to get a house up in order. And if she got kids, he bring in another woman, whatever, she can rest, because, eventually that trust, she have to trust, the other woman, because that's her husband brought in another woman to help in the house. So of course she gonna have to help out with the kids too, And if the other woman is acting, silly or whatever, don't want to act right, then he put her away, and they go right back to what I was reading, and what was it, Matthew 5:32, or Mark 10:11. If he put her away, and she's young, vibrant, she hot in the bed, and if she don't, come back to him, she will commit adultery, because she gonna want it, you know. But anyway, it says if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. So, he got to take care of her. He got to serve her, in their bedroom. Not just in the bedroom also, but talk to her, you know. Y'all go out and eat, whatever, you know. But it says here, and if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So, you got Esau, he's contrary to the Bible. He won't put the woman equal to the man or over the man. That's why you see like Jake is trying to plead with her, and she's sitting back like, I got this here. I already got this in the bag. See, but in ancient time, biblical time, it wasn't nothing like that. And just like this man with his hand out like this, a woman had her head down. And the man, he will give her or give her what he think that he want to give her, or nothing. But it says here she leave with nothing. Even the kids stay with him. But due to a secondary 6 and 9, Esau, he's ruling right now, just paraphrasing, but at the end, Jacob, he's going to rule everlasting. There ain't going to be none of this right here. Ain't going to be divorce. Ain't going to be no separation. Our women and men and children are going to be in perfection. The laws are going to be in our inner parts. So hopefully you got some understanding out of this here. It's a lot here if I was ranting, but I didn't want to make this here too long, so I'm gonna end it right here. Shalom.